Hello everybody and welcome to my initial thoughts and impressions on Finka, one of the two new attacking operators being added in the upcoming Operation Chimera update. So without further ado, what is her unique selling point as an operator? Well, Finka's unique gadget is called Adrenal Surge, which when activated buffs her entire team with 20 temporary health, a reduction in recoil that is really quite noticeable. And as a bonus, if you are downed when Finka activates her surge, you will get instantly revived with that plus 20 temporary health buff. So, when I first heard about her gadget, I figured that it would be pretty strong. A team-wide buff that always hits anyone who's alive on offense. Yeah, that seems pretty good. Before we got the actual details on how it worked though, I assumed that it would give everyone on offense plus 40 temporary health that would tick down over time alongside the recoil reduction and other benefits, similar to Doc's Stim Pistol, but that it would, instead of a 3-charge ability, as we've now found out, it would be a one-time use ability. Instead, they've opted to break it down into the 3 charges, but make the health addition be half as strong as Doc's Pistol, as you gained the 20 temporary health instead of the plus 40. The devs version makes a lot more sense now that I've actually played Finka, as I've realized that having a single-use, super powerful buff on offense would be way too swingy for both teams. For attackers, it would be amazing if timed well, but really suck if Finka went down early in the round, as you'd lose that massive potential upswing in power. And for the defenders, it would feel more or less unfair, as you'd just be facing just super strong operators on offense. Another thing that's worth noting is that unlike with Doc's Stim Pistol, Finka's temporary health does not tick down over time if it's overhealing someone above 100. Instead, it just stays at a flat 120, not ticking down, and assuming you take no damage, as soon as the buff ends, you just immediately lose that 20 health. My initial impressions of Finka's power level is that she seems pretty damn strong. Unlike Doc on defense, Finka's heal is super easy to use. Instead of hoping you're near the injured person in order to actually Stim Pistol them, or Stim Pistol to revive someone who's been downed, with Finka you just hit your gadget, activate it, and the animation is really quite short and easy to kind of use when in combat, and you're golden, you've applied your buff, everyone's happy. Her recoil reduction, one of the other features of this team-wide buff, is also pretty nice. One operator that would certainly love to play in a team with Finka would be Buck, as his legendary C8 assault rifle is fairly notorious for its ludicrously high recoil. And sure, you can learn to control it the more you play him, and with certain attachments helping more or less, but pairing those specific two operators together, Finka for a recoil reduction and Buck for his really good but very high recoil assault rifle, you know, that could be a pretty powerful pairing. But to start playing the Devil's Advocate, it is possible that using Finka alongside Buck would be just too many operator slots dedicated to one specific thing. So when you consider that on offense you need a hard breacher like a Habana or a Thermite, the traditional picks, alongside preferably a couple of soft breachers such as Sledge, Buck or Ash, and then support characters like Thatcher or Twitch, where then in that lineup do you squeeze in the Finka? I'm sure it's possible, and no doubt that pro teams will experiment heavily with her and the other new operator, who I will do a separate video on, and find a strat or a lineup that really kind of uses her to her best advantage, but that might be a possible weakness. It might be that including Finka in is just a bit too much of a squeeze and denies you other powerful operators and utility. To move on, still playing the Devil's Advocate role here, if we move back onto her revive potential, as strong as it certainly can be, I have to imagine that at the higher levels of play, and certainly pro level of play, in Siege, if an attacker gets downed, chances are high that they quickly get finished off. Even if they get downed behind cover, or they get downed and then crawl behind cover, impact grenades, C4, and penetrating weapons on defense can easily finish the job. Therefore, it could be argued that unless a Finka is very quick with her timing, just, you know, watching whoever's about to get downed, or you're communicating with whoever gets downed and they tell you, "Dear God, help me." The mileage that she gets with her revive potential, with her buff, might be quite low. I guess if we're going to take anything from this theorizing, it's that Finka's Adrenal Surge ability has a high variation in potential impact. If you activate it and revive a teammate, as well as buff 4 of the people on your team, essentially buffing your entire team, hot damn, that is good value. But if you just activate it and just you get buffed, or you and a teammate get buffed, well, that's not quite as good. And this kind of brings us on to when you should probably try and use the charges of Adrenal Surge. In short, the earlier the better, within reason. Obviously, don't use it at the very start of the round, nothing's going to happen, unless, as you just saw on screen, you get spawn peaked, in which case, you know, go for it, activate it. If you're not being spawn peaked, however, a pretty good generic timing for when you can get good early use out of a charge of Adrenal Surge is when your team starts to enter the building or construct of whatever map you're on. At this very early stage, there is the very real possibility that defending roamers are at or near commonly used entry points, and are, when they hear someone enter, going to try and get a very quick kill, and give their defending team a bit of a numbers advantage from that point on. And if you activate your surge before this happens, say you see a sledge, he's about to hit a window or has already hit a window and thinks it's clear, he's about to jump in, you can activate your surge and give him and other entry roamers across the map, wherever they may be, a better chance at surviving the loving attentions of any roamers that they might get the interest of. And if they do survive the loving attentions of any roamers, then chances are that means that they took out that roamer in question, in which case your team is now at the numbers advantage that those roamers were trying to get for the defending team. And this really helps when you push in to the actual objective site. After this point, I would simply recommend to use your best judgment. If you hear fighting across the map, and you know that multiple members of your team are in 1v1s or similar confrontations, then yeah, chances are you should use a surge there. Or if you're about to make that final push into the site, then that might also be a pretty good time to use a surge. And that's pretty much it for me and my initial coverage and opinions and bit of a breakdown guide on Finka, one of the 2 new operators coming with Operation Chimera. This was recorded on the technical test server, which went live today, and if you want to get your hands on it early, you can install it yourselves, or if you don't have the hard drive space or can't be asked, then fair play, wait until March the 6th. So, until that happens, I will be doing regular coverage on Outbreak when that hits the technical test server, as well as a similar video to this for Lion, the other attacking new operator coming to Siege. But until that happens, I will see you in the next one. Bye!